and welcome to Tech Talk. This month, rather than discuss a specific tech topic, I want to give you a recap of last week's PPAI Technology Summit in Washington, D.C. I had the pleasure and the challenge of doing what's akin to a PPAI triathlon. That is, attending the North American Leadership Conference, the Promo Standards Workshop, and the Technology Summit all in the course of 4 days. Now, it would take me hours to cover all the great presentations, panels, and conversations that happened at all the events. And this is Tech Talk, so I'm going to focus on a few of the tech highlights from the sessions I had the opportunity to attend or lead. But first, a thank you to sponsors Sage, Essent, and Geiger, without whom the Technology Summit would not have been possible. Over the past 4 years, this event has grown into the premier gathering of the industry's top technologists, some of whom flew in for this event from as far away as India. Now, I can speak firsthand to the fact that the ideation and technical innovation coming out of this industry is fueled in part by the conversations and collaboration that happen at this event. So thanks to our sponsors, the work groups behind these events, and to everyone who attended. Before I dive into Tech Summit, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the one presentation at NELC that was heavily focused on technology. John Norris and Catherine Graham presented a session focused on automation and artificial intelligence that gave us a glimpse into how these evolving technologies could play a larger role in the future of our industry. We're already seeing automation and the use of robots on the production side, but we're also seeing a growing use of AI in other parts of the industry, such as the use of predictive tools and business intelligence on the sales and marketing side, so keep your ears open as these become more commonplace. Real quickly on the Promo Standards Workshop, over 80 technical leaders from around the country and abroad spent a day discussing data standardization and how it ensures a streamlined workflow as our industry continues to grow. So kudos to the committee behind Promo Standards for their efforts and the work they've put into streamlining everything technical about our industry. Now, Tech Summit itself kicked off with a presentation by futurist Ian Kahn about creating value in a transformational world. It was an overview of what we're seeing out there in terms of new technologies or transformational processes that we should be paying more attention to as we seek new ways to build value for our customers. I had the pleasure of leading a panel discussion on cloud technologies with PCNA's Paul Fleischman, Suida's David Jackson, and Essence Steve Lucier. We covered some of the trends we're seeing, the increasingly rapid migration to the cloud, and dove into some of the innovative things that each of our companies are doing on the various cloud platforms. From Google to Amazon to Microsoft, there are a ton of options out there, and what pieces you use depends entirely on your needs, so it was great to hear the crowd chime in and get a great conversation going during this panel. David Jackson also presented a great session on building a technology roadmap, and if you're like me and always trying to constantly evaluate the needs of your customers and how to prioritize things in your development pipeline, the notion of properly managing a roadmap is hugely important. Always one of the more entertaining sessions at Tech Summit, Geiger's Dale Denham presented the annual Tech Tips 30 and 30 list, where we get to hear tips from people in the room about tools or methodologies they're using to work more efficiently. Guest speaker and retired FBI agent Scott Augenbaum presented a session on data breaches and how to defend your company against them. And if he scared the shit out of you, it's probably a good thing, since the sophistication of the hackers seems to be growing as quickly as the sophistication of the ways in which we're securing our data and our systems. One of the takeaways from that session was that if you aren't using two-factor authentication for all your sensitive systems, you should be. It's an easy way to protect against intrusions, though as Dino recently pointed out on Promo Connect, it's not a silver bullet, and therefore user education should always be a key part of your security procedures. Starline's John Norris presented an update on promo standards and how the growing number of suppliers and distributors who are leveraging the standards are streamlining their efficiency and seeing huge gains. Currently in the works are the new 2.0 inventory service, the credentialing service, and the new version 1.5 product standard that will simplify the extraction and consumption of basic product data. HIT's Eric Schoenbarger moderated a panel on threat detection, resolution, and recovery that reiterated some of the ideas presented in Scott's presentation, but we also gained some interesting insight into a few of the real-world threat scenarios faced recently by HIT and BIC, and learned some of the ways they're working to lower the risk of those threats in the future. PCA's Michael Conway moderated a panel on e-commerce, where we learned just how many iterations and definitions there are floating around out there when it comes to e-commerce. Wherever you land on that discussion, it's clear that whether you view e-commerce purely as online transactions or you view it as a piece of the consultative engagement commerce approach, e-commerce is obviously a growing part of doing business in this industry. I had the honor of being on a panel moderated by Dino over at Halo, along with the GEM Group's David Gallant and Summit Group's Amy Rabideau, where we talked about the ways in which promo standards have benefited our companies and our customers. It was fascinating to learn more about how standardization has streamlined operations for both the distributors and the suppliers, and talk about how we as the service providers can help on both sides of that supply chain by simplifying the order process through the use of standards. Tech Summit wrapped up with a closing general session on how to tell stories better using data visualization from Harvard Business Review's Scott Baronato. From his initial example using beer and baseball to a real-world exercise in simplifying the visualization of a distributor's data, it was a fascinating reality check that makes it clear that all of us can do a much better job of telling stories to our customers, staff, or partners using clear, easy-to-understand visualizations. Now, I could go on for hours talking about all the presentations, the networking, the discussions, the closing and opening parties, and the nightly late-night pizza excursions hosted by John Norris, but we're out of time this month. If any of the discussion or topics that I just talked about interest you, and you've never attended Tech Summit, be sure to put it on your calendar for 2019. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.